Instant coffee starts as real coffee. That's worth stating clearly because the finished product, a powder that dissolves in hot water in seconds, looks nothing like anything that came out of the ground. But the process begins exactly where all coffee begins, with the harvesting of coffee cherries from the plant. The red fruit is picked, the outer flesh is stripped away, and the beans inside are dried and sorted. What enters the production line is the same raw green coffee bean used to make any other cup of coffee. Those green beans are roasted in large industrial drums at temperatures between 200 and 230 degrees Celsius, developing the hundreds of flavor and aroma compounds that define coffee's character. The roasting process for instant coffee tends to run slightly darker than for specialty coffee, partly because some of the flavors are lost in later stages of production and a stronger base helps compensate. After roasting, the beans are ground, but far more coarsely than for espresso or filter coffee. The grind size matters here because the next step is extraction, where hot water is forced through the grounds under pressure to pull out all flavors coffee contains. The result is an extremely concentrated liquid coffee, far stronger than anything you would drink directly. This concentrate is the base from which the final product is made. From this point, the process splits into two methods depending on the manufacturer. The first and more common method is spray drying. The liquid coffee concentrate is pumped to the top of a tall chamber and sprayed as a fine mist into a current of very hot, dry air, typically around 250 degrees Celsius. The water in the droplets evaporates almost instantly, and what falls to the floor of the chamber is a fine powder of dried coffee solids. The whole process takes only a few seconds. It's fast and inexpensive, but the intense heat strips away a significant portion of the aromatic compounds responsible for coffee's more complex flavors, which is why spray-dried instant coffee tends to taste flatter than the brewed version. The second method is freeze-drying, and it produces a noticeably better result. The liquid coffee concentrate is frozen into a solid slab at around minus 40 degrees Celsius, then broken into small granules. Those granules are placed in a vacuum chamber where the pressure is lowered so dramatically that ice converts directly into vapor without passing through a liquid stage, a process called sublimation. The water disappears, leaving behind dry coffee granules with their cellular structure largely intact. Because no high heat is involved, far more of the aromatic compounds survive. Freeze-dried instant coffee is more expensive to produce and takes considerably longer, but the flavor difference is substantial. Once dried, whether by spray or freeze, the coffee is tested for moisture content, blended for consistency, and packaged immediately in airtight containers. Oxygen and moisture are the primary enemies of shelf stability. Exposed to either, the coffee degrades quickly. Sealed correctly, instant coffee can remain shelf-stable for years without significant flavor loss. Instant coffee is not a modern convenience invented for busy mornings. The first known patent for a soluble coffee product was filed in 1889 by New Zealand-based inventor David Strang, though the process gained wider attention when Japanese-American chemist Satoru Kato filed his own patent in 1901. A commercially viable version followed shortly after, with George Washington, an Anglo-Belgian inventor, founding the G. Washington Coffee Company to mass-produce it under his own name. The product existed in relative obscurity until the First World War, when the US military began including it in soldier rations. Millions of men were introduced to it in the trenches, and many came home with the habit already formed. Nestlé recognized the opportunity and launched Nescafé in 1938. During the Second World War, the United States had classified Nescafé as a commodity vital to the war effort, and new production facilities were established specifically to meet Allied military demand. By the time the war was over, instant coffee had an installed consumer base large enough to sustain a global industry. And it has never lost it. Click the video on your screen right now and I'll explain another everyday mystery you've wondered about your whole life but never thought to look up.